Zub and Anita had been inseparable from the moment they met as little girls in their village, running through the fields with carefree laughter. They were both 5 years old, with wide eyes full of curiosity and dreams bigger than their small world. Zub was the more adventurous of the two, always climbing trees and finding new places to explore, while Anita was quiet and observant, always there to pull Zub back when she strayed too far. Despite their differences, their personalities complemented each other, creating a bond that no one could break. They attended the same primary school, walking hand in hand every morning as the sun rose over the horizon. It was in school that their bond grew even deeper. When one struggled with a lesson, the other would stay back after school to help, sitting under the large mango tree behind their classroom. Zub would often help Anita with mathematics, her sharp mind quickly solving sums that left Anita frustrated. In return, Anita would guide Zub through English lessons, helping her with grammar and spelling. They leaned on each other for everything. Their bond was not limited to academics. Zub and Anita shared the most personal details of their lives. They were there for each other during the awkward changes of adolescence. They talked openly about their first periods, laughing nervously at the newness of it all. They shared stories about the things that frightened them, like their parents' scoldings or the uncertainty of the future. When Zub's mother fell ill for several months and was bedridden, it was Anita who would come by every day to help Zub with her household chores and to bring food her mother could eat. Zub never forgot that act of kindness, and it cemented their friendship even more. Through the years, as they transitioned from little girls to teenagers, Zub and Anita's friendship remained the center of their lives. They knew each other's secrets, dreams, and fears. No matter what challenges life threw at them, they faced them together, always side by side. After secondary school, Zub and Anita were determined to further their education. They both dreamt of attending university, and even though their families didn't have much, they worked hard to make it happen. When the time came, they both gained admission to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. It was the happiest moment of their lives. They celebrated together, jumping and screaming in excitement, knowing that they would be facing the next phase of their lives as they always had, together. University life, however, was not as easy as they had imagined. The workload was heavier, the environment more competitive, and they were far away from the familiar comforts of home. But just as they had done throughout their childhood, they leaned on each other. Zub, who had always been academically sharp, helped Anita adjust to the new pressures of university life. Anita, on the other hand, was always the calming presence when Zub felt overwhelmed by the weight of expectations. There were days when things were tough. Zub struggled with a particularly difficult course in her second year, failing a major exam for the first time in her life. She was devastated. She cried for days, feeling like a failure, wondering if she would ever get back on track. It was Anita who sat by her side, reminding her of all the times they had overcome challenges before. "We've faced tougher things, Zub," Anita said softly, placing her hand on Zub's shoulder. "This is just a bump in the road. You're stronger than you know, and I'm right here with you." Those words stayed with Zub, and with renewed determination, she retook the exam and passed with flying colors. It was a small victory, but one that reminded them both of the power of their friendship. Anita, too, had her moments of struggle. In her final year, her father passed away unexpectedly. The grief overwhelmed her, and she found it hard to focus on her studies. She felt lost without the guidance and support of her father. And Zube, understanding the depth of Anita's pain, stayed by her side every day. She helped Anita with her studies, encouraged her to take things one day at a time, and reminded her that she wasn't alone. "You've got me, Anita," Nzube would say, holding her hand. "We'll get through this, just like we've gotten through everything else." Together, they made it to graduation. Their smiles were brighter than the sun as they took photos in their gowns, throwing their caps into the air. They had made it through the toughest years of their lives, and they had done it together. After university, life began to pull Nzube and Anita in different directions, but their bond remained as strong as ever. Nzube got a job as a civil engineer in Enugu, while Anita pursued a career in teaching back in their hometown. They often joked about how life had taken them on different paths, but their friendship remained unchanged, even with the physical distance. They talked on the phone every day, sharing the details of their lives, from work struggles to new relationships. Nzube met a man named Chima, who swept her off her feet with his intelligence and charm. She gushed to Anita about him, telling her how she felt like she had finally met the man she would spend her life with. Anita, on the other hand, was still single, focusing more on her career. But she never felt left out or lonely, because Nzube always included her in every major decision in her life. They planned Nzube's wedding together, with Anita by her side every step of the way. When Nzube walked down the aisle on her wedding day, it was Anita who stood as her maid of honor, tears of joy streaming down her face as she watched her best friend marry the love of her life. But life wasn't always smooth. Shortly after her wedding, Nzube faced complications with pregnancy. She had suffered 2 miscarriages, and the pain weighed heavily on her heart. Anita was there through it all, offering comfort and reminding her that everything would work out in time. "You'll be a mother one day, Nzube," Anita said with quiet conviction. "I know it." In a surprising turn of events, Anita met someone just as Nzube had predicted. His name was Emeka, and he was a fellow teacher at her school. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and soon, Anita was planning her own wedding, with Nzube by her side as her maid of honor. The joy they felt for each other was palpable. They had been there for each other through the good and the bad, and now they were watching each other step into the next chapter of their lives. But just as things were looking up, Anita faced her own set of challenges. Shortly after getting married, she was diagnosed with a serious illness that left her bedridden for months. It was a devastating blow to her and Emeka, but Nzube was there, just as Anita had been for her. Nzube would travel from Enugu to their hometown almost every weekend, bringing food, gifts, and most importantly, hope. "You're going to get through this, Anita," Nzube said, holding her hand. "You're strong, and I'm here with you." Anita's recovery was slow, but with Nzube's unwavering support and Emeka's love, she pulled through. She began to regain her strength, and by the following year, she was back on her feet, stronger than ever. The 2 friends, now both married and healed from their respective trials, began to dream about the future, children, family, and growing old together. A few years later, Nzube and Anita both became mothers. Nzube gave birth to a baby girl, while Anita welcomed a baby boy. They laughed at the irony of it all. Nzube had always wanted a boy, and Anita had always dreamt of having a girl. But life as always, had its own plans. The two friends raised their children together, often visiting each other, and their children grew up as close as they had been. As they sat together one sunny afternoon, watching their children play in the yard, and Zubi turned to Anita with a smile. "We've been through everything together, haven't we?" Anita nodded, her heart full. "We really have. From little girls running around in the village to mothers watching our children run around now." There was a moment of silence as they reflected on their journey. Every triumph, every trial, every tear, and every smile. They had been there for each other through it all. Their friendship had withstood the test of time, and now they were living the future they had once only dreamed of. "I don't know what I would have done without you," Nzube said softly, her voice filled with emotion. Anita squeezed her hand. "We made it because we had each other." And with that, the two friends sat together, their bond stronger than ever, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it side by side, just as they always had.